Now, please, we continue our lecture. Since your practical training begins with the topic of food hygiene, the next part of our lecture will be devoted to the section Food Hygiene, the scientific basis of a healthy diet is the name of our lecture. What are food hygiene directions? They are rational nutrition, prophylactic nutrition, and treatment and dietary nutrition. We begin with rational nutrition. Rational nutrition is nutrition a healthy person, the individual groups and populations. And prevention kind of is primary prevention. Primary prevention is the prevention of occurrence of any injuries, diseases, and poisoning. Most hygiene measures, including hygienic regulations, provide either a complete elimination of risk factors or reduce its impact till safe levels. So, primary prevention is the prevention of occurrence of any injuries, diseases, and poisoning. Most hygiene measures, including hygienic regulations, provide either a complete elimination of risk factors or reduce its impact till safe levels. The next one, the second, is prophylactic nutrition. Nutrition a healthy person of working age, working in adverse, harmful working conditions. This is secondary prevention. Secondary prevention, early diagnosis of diseases, necessary therapeutic measures for the correction of health status, medical screening of healthy people exposed to adverse factors or with an increased risk of developing certain diseases. So this is secondary prevention for adult people. The third one is treatment and dietary nutrition. Nutrition of patients, taking into account mechanism of pathological process and the nature of its cause. This is the tertiary prevention, the third prevention. Tertiary prevention or rehabilitation is aimed at prevention of complications, disability, and mortality. It's most common in the traditional practice of medicine, but unfortunately, the least effective method of prevention is the third prevention, rehabilitability, when the man is ill. Healthy diet. What is healthy diet? What is rational nutrition? Rational nutrition consists of lifestyle, education, and choice of food substances. So this is rational indication, is for healthy diet. What is description? The elimination process. We have many nutrients. Nutrients flow, non-species specific monomers, amino acids, monosaccharides, fatty acids, vitamins, mineral substances. This is nutrients flow, nutrients. Then the other is hormones and physiologically active substances. Endogenous flow, hormones, neurotransmitters, and other compounds. Exogenous flow, active physiological substances formed during the decomposition of food. Once more, please. Hormones and physiologically active substances. So they are endogenous or exogenous flow. Endogenous are hormones, neurotransmitters, and other compounds. Exogenous flow, active physiological substances formed during the decomposition of food. Bacterial metabolites. Nutrients modified by microflora, the waste products of microorganisms, and secondary nutrients, toxic substances. Once more, bacterial metabolites, nutrients modified by microflora, the waste products of microorganisms, secondary nutrients, and toxic substances. Xenobiotics. What is xenobiotics? Xenobiotics are foreign to the human body substances. What is protection mechanisms of gastrointestinal tract? Impenetrability of mucus to polymers of food. Enzymatic activity of the apical membrane of enterocytes that decompose oligomers to monomers. Once more, please. What is protection mechanisms of gastrointestinal tract? Impenetrability of mucus to polymers of food and enzymatic activity of the apical membrane of enterocytes that decompose the oligomers to monomers. Then are the immune system, mucous barrier, and detoxification. What is rational nutrition? Rational, from the Latin word rationalis. Rational nutrition is a physiologically balanced diet of healthy people. It provides a constant internal environment, homeostasis, and supports people's life manifestations at a high level in a variety of working and living conditions. So rational nutrition is a physiologically balanced diet of healthy people. It provides a constant internal environment and supports people's life manifestations at a high level in a variety of working and living conditions. We know postulates of rational nutrition. What are the postulates of rational nutrition? The compliance or daily energy expenditure with energy intake. The compliance of daily energy expenditure with energy intake. The factors influence on the value of energy needs, age and the associated value of basal metabolism, gender, the constitution of the body, the nature of employment, quality of life related to the development of the social infrastructure of residents, effect of climatic conditions in the residence region, and physiological condition on the body. Once more, the factors influence on the value of energy needs, age and the associated value of basal metabolism, gender, the constitution of the body, the nature of employment, quality of life related to the development of the social infrastructure of residents, effect of climatic conditions in the residence region, physiological condition of the body. Energy intake must be equal energy expenditure. Daily overeating by 200 kilocalories leads to body weight increase by 7 kilograms per year. So if we eat much, we have very, very large weight. So we can see each product gives some kilocalories. Pastry, 400 50 to 500 kilocalories. So if we eat this one, we must run, jogging 1 hour. This is equivalent of physical work. Boiled sausage, 100 grams, has caloricity 450 kilocalories. We must jogging 1 hour. Ice cream, 200 grams, has caloricity 200 kilocalories. Jogging 30 minutes. Pepsi Cola, a glass of Pepsi Cola, caloricity is 150 to 170 kilocalories. We must jogging and run for 20 minutes. So let's think how many kilocalories we have to eat every day. Another postulate of rational nutrition is the chemical composition should correspond to the body's physiological need for nutrients, balanced nutrition. Balanced nutrition means provision not only adequate amounts of protein and energy, but also a strict ratio between the essential nutritional factors, each of which plays a specific role in the metabolism. So the second postulate is the chemical composition should correspond to the body's physiological need for nutrients, balanced nutrition, which means provision not only adequate amounts of protein and energy, but also a strict ratio between the essential nutrition factors, each of which plays a specific role in the metabolism. Proteins. 1 gram has 4 kilocalories, provide 20% of the daily energy needs. The percentage of animal protein, 50–55%. The daily need, 120 grams a day. Once more, 1 gram, 4 kilocalories, 12 of the daily energy needs, 50–55%. The daily need from 80 to 120 grams a day. What are the functions of proteins? The first function is plastic processes. The second provides structure and catalytic function of enzymes and hormones. Transport function, protective function, once more, please. Functions of proteins. Plastic processes, provide structure and catalytic function of enzymes and hormones, transport function and protective function. These are functions of proteins. Fats. 1 gram has 9 kilocalories, provide 30% of the daily energy needs. The daily need from 80 to 100 grams a day. It includes 25–30 grams oils. Animal fat, 50%. Plant fat, 30%. Margarine and cooking fats, 20%. Fats are complex of glycerin and fat acids. The most important components are phosphatides, polyunsaturated fatty acids, and sterols. So fats, 1 gram has 9 kilocalories, provide 30 of the daily energy needs. The daily need from 80 to 100 grams a day. Animal fat, 50%, plant fat 30%, margarine and cooking fats 20%. Fats are complex of glycerin and fat acids. The most important components are phosphatides, polyunsaturated fatty acids, and sterols. What are the functions of fats? The most important supplier of energy. Fats are the most important suppliers of energy. They are a structural component of the body. The vitamin solvents, A, D, E, K, promote the absorption of the vitamins. Once more, please. Functions of fats are the most important supplier of energy, a structural component of the body. The vitamin solvents promote the absorption of the vitamins. Plant fats. Recommended ratio of plant fats are following. Monounsaturated fatty acids, 60%. Saturated fatty acids, 30%. Polyunsaturated fatty acids, 10%. So plant fats are recommended in those ways. Monounsaturated fatty acids, 60%. Saturated fatty acids, 30%. Polyunsaturated fatty acids, 10%. Now, please, let's discuss saturated fatty acids. What is it? Medium chain length fatty acids from 8 to 14 carbons are absorbed in the digestive tract and undergo beta oxidation. Animal fats have a solid consistency and a high melting point. Risk factor for diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular, and other diseases. So, saturated fatty acids. They have medium chain length fatty, and they are absorbed in the digestive tract and undergo beta oxidation. Animal fats have a solid consistency and a high melting point. Saturated fatty acids are the risk factor for diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular, and other diseases. Consumption, more than 10% of the calorie content of the daily diet. Monounsaturated fatty acids. Myristoleic and palmitoleic acids, fats of fish and marine mammals. Oleic, olive, safflower, sesame, rapeseed oils. The physiological need is 10% of the caloric content of the daily diet. Polyunsaturated fatty acids. Polyunsaturated fatty acids contain 2 or more double bonds between carbon atoms. Linoleic and linolenic are particularly important. The physiological need is 10% of the daily caloric intake. So this was polyunsaturated fatty acids. Omega-6 and omega-3. Omega-6 is almost all vegetable oils and nuts. Omega-3, oil, fatty fish, and some seafood. Linoleic acid, omega-6 family, the precursor of arachidonic acid. Once more, please. Omega-6 and omega-3. Omega-6 is in almost all vegetable oils and nuts. Omega-3 in oil, fatty fish, and some seafood. Linoleic acid, this is in omega-6 family, the precursor of arachidonic acid. Polyunsaturated fatty acids are the part of cell membranes myelin sheaths the connective tissue. They increase the body's resistance to infectious diseases, malignant neoplasms. They play an important role in the synthesis of prostaglandins, and they are not synthesized in the body. So polyunsaturated fatty acids are the part of cell membranes, myelin sheaths, the connective tissue. They increase the body's resistance to infectious diseases, malignant neoplasms. They play an important role in the synthesis of prostaglandins. They are not synthesized in the body. Phosphatides. Phosphatides are included in the structure of cell membranes. They are involved in the transport of fat in the body. The daily need is 10 grams per day. Phosphatides sources are egg yolk, crude in unrefined vegetable oil, butter, wheat germ, and rice seeds. So phosphatides are included in the structure of cell membranes. They are involved in the transport of fat in the body. The daily need of phosphatides is 10 grams every day. Phosphatides sources are egg yolk, 10%, crude unrefined vegetable oil from 1.5 to 4%, butter, 0.4%, wheat germ and rye seeds, 0.6 to 0.7%. Carbohydrates. 1 gram has 4 kilocalories. Carbohydrates provide 55 of the daily energy needs. The optimum composition is starch 75%, sugar 20%, pectin 3%, and cellulose 2%. The daily need of carbohydrates is from 400 to 500 grams a day. What are the kinds of carbohydrates? They are assimilated carbohydrates, indigestible carbohydrates, dietary fibers. So kinds of carbohydrates: assimilated carbohydrates, indigestible carbohydrates, and dietary fibers. Role of dietary fibers in the digestive process. What is the role of these dietary fibers? They stimulate the motor secretory and evacuation functions. They regulate the rate of absorption of nutrients. Dietary fibers bind water. They increase the feeling of fullness and suppress appetite. Bind bile acids, reduce the level of cholesterol in the blood. This was the role of, once more please, role of dietary fiber in the digestive process. They stimulate the water secretory and evacuation functions. They regulate the rate of absorption of nutrients. They bind water. They increase the feelings of fullness and suppress appetite. They bind bile acids, reduce the level of cholesterol in the blood. And they absorb toxins and radionuclides. They support of the endoecology of the internal environment. They modify the absorption of glucose and increase her tolerance. They have anti-inflammatory effect. They decrease the viscosity of whole blood. Once more, please. Dietary fibers. They absorb toxins and radionuclides. They support the endoecology of the internal environment. They modify the absorption of glucose and increase tolerance. They are anti-inflammatory effect. They decrease the viscosity of whole blood. Vitamins. Water-soluble vitamins. The group of B vitamins, PP, C, and so on. Fat-soluble vitamins are A, D, E, K. Vitamin-like substances, pangamic acid, choline, methylmethionine, and others. This is the list of vitamins and their names. Once more, please. Vitamins are water-soluble and fat-soluble. So these are water-soluble, and these vitamins are fat-soluble. And we have vitamin-like substances, pangamic acid, choline, methylmethionine, and so on. And these are vitamins, with these are their names. These vitamins we know. What is the function of vitamins? Vitamins participate in many biochemical processes. Vitamins support the body's resistance to adverse environmental factors. Vitamins improve mental and physical performance. Vitamins provide the functions of the endocrine glands and their hormonal activity. Once more, please. Function of vitamins. They participate in many biochemical processes. They support the body's resistance to adverse environmental factors. They improve mental and physical performance. They provide the functions of the endocrine glands and their hormonal activity. The needs of vitamins. Balance is justified and adjusted to a certain calorie content of diet. In particular, to 1,000 kilocalories. For example, the need for ascorbic acid is determined as 25 milligrams per 1,000 kilocalories, but not less than 90 milligrams for an adult. What are criteria for balanced nutrition? The first criteria, ratio between proteins, fats, and carbohydrates is dependent on age, level of physical activity, and gender on the individual. For example, for a young lady of 20 years old student, this ratio is 1 to 1.1 to 4.7. So the ratio between proteins, fats, and carbohydrates is dependent on age, level of physical activity, and gender of individual. So this is a table, criteria for balanced nutrition, balance of minerals, calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium. Adults of working age must have calcium to phosphorus 1 to 0.8 and ratio calcium for magnesium 1 to 0.4. Elderly persons have ratio calcium to phosphorus 1 to 0.7 and ratio calcium to magnesium 1 to 0.4. Pregnant and lactating have ratio calcium to phosphorus 1 to 0.8, but increases the absolute amount of calcium and phosphorus. So they must increase the absolute amount of calcium and magnesium also, and the ratio will be 1 to 0.4. Children, 6 years, must have ratio calcium to phosphorus 1 to 1.2, and ratio calcium to magnesium 1 to 0.3. Children elder 6 years must have ratio calcium to phosphorus 1 to 1, and calcium to magnesium 1 to 0.3, but increases the absolute amount of calcium and magnesium. Another postulate of racial nutrition is compliance the chemical structure of the food with the enzyme digestive system. Compliance rule or enzymatic constellation. Excess supply, diseases development. How our diseases develop when we eat some products. We eat some products, excess nutrients in the diet, constitutional weakness of individual enzyme units. Then becomes hypernutrientemia. Then cellular homeostasis disorder. Then adaptive enhancement of enzyme activity, particularly in the mitochondria. Then becomes failure of adaptation, enzymatic organization disorder. Then deep, persistent metabolic disorder. And at last, disease symptoms. So how can we have disease? At first, we eat products, excess nutrients in the diet, a constitutional weakness of individual enzyme units, then hypernutrientemia, then cellular homeostasis disorder, then adaptive enhancement of enzyme activity, then failure of adaptation, enzymatic organization disorder, then deep persistent metabolic disorder. And the end of this, we have disease. We have disease symptoms. Next postulate of racial nutrition is eating regime, dietary pattern. The distribution of the daily calorie intake for 3 meals a day. Breakfast 30%, lunch 45%, dinner 25%. If we eat 4 times a day, if we have 4 meals a day, we have breakfast 25%, lunch 35%, snack 15%, and dinner 25%. Or another variant, first breakfast 25%, the second breakfast 15%, lunch 35%, and dinner 25%. So the next postulate is eating regime, dietary pattern. The next postulate is foodstuffs should be safe. Lack of physical, chemical, and biological contaminant. No process of damage, oxidation, fermentation, mold formation, and rancidification. So we have come to the end of our lecture. The lecture is beginning to the end. So during your practical lessons, you will have food hygiene. We will discuss all these problems, and I hope you will come to our lessons or hear them, and then we shall. I will be very ready to see you during our practical lessons. Thank you for attention. Our lesson is over. So I hope you to be at our lessons at our department, Department of General Hygiene of the Institute of Public Health, named after Fyodor Fyodorich Erisman of our Sechenov University. Thank you very much for your attention.